really getting out of the conversation right now is just how it does take a tribe to actually become an integrated human. We're not going to necessarily get it in our family system. So, what
Right.
are the ways that we can actually, or does that get created for us along the way?
Yes. And I think that's a really important piece because most people don't reach for reparenting. And
Right.
if you don't reach for it, if you don't know you need it, it ends up just becoming a reality.
Hmm. Yeah. And what, how would you define reparenting? Like, what do you think the gestalt of that actually is?
For me, it's pretty simple. It's coming into relationship with a love that you actually can understand and metabolize.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So that all the critical voices that came with the original parenting
Hmm.
or those missed experiences completely, um, find a way to rise again,
Hmm.
um, and a context in which they can rise again. So when we worked together in those early years, we had boundaries, but we crossed many of those boundaries because you needed to in order to have those experiences arise.
Hmm.
And I was willing to because I know what it looked like
Right.
to need that.
Yeah. And maybe we could put some color on that of like what was a cross boundary in our work together that my system really needed. Do you recall?
Um, well, it wasn't necessarily in the real early days, but when you actually stayed at my house
Yeah.
and we lived together for a very short period of time.
Hmm.
Um, but it was a way of coming into a context that wasn't client practitioner.
Hmm.
It was more human to human. And we had to, we got the chance to actually love one another in that context.
Yeah. Yeah, because there's something more gritty about that kind. That you couldn't stay in your practitioner role. You were
Right.
actually you needed to be human. Not that you're not a human in your practitioner role, but there's a certain level of boundary. To your
Hmm.
point.
Another one is when Cherokee died.
Oh yeah. So Cherokee was my dog for 13 years, and you were there when she passed.
Yeah. And I made it a point to come over that boundary to be with you because it was like losing your child.
It was.
And that needed some parenting
Hmm.
to hold it.
Hmm.
And you didn't have it anywhere else.
Right.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
God. It's amazing because, talk about healing trauma. Your willingness to step in that way is really what allowed me to heal my brother's
Hmm.
death, to have someone actually there that wasn't there for me when I was a child.
Right.
And so those moments where we can step into one another's lives in such a vulnerable space to help
Hmm.
have not feel so alone. I guess that's really what the reparenting feels like to me, is those spots where I go against myself, or I have disapproval towards parts of myself and somebody else doesn't, and they
Right.
actually can make room for it. And
Yeah.
not only make room, get curious about those parts of me. Had I not had that imprint from you, I wouldn't have been able to start doing that for myself or do that for other people today. It's sort of like a paying it forward
Hmm.
power.
Hmm. And curiosity is actually an essential component of life, I think, and of that reparenting process because there's so much we just don't understand
Hmm.
about how someone else perceives.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I know. I think as practitioners, that's probably one of the most powerful places to move from, is getting out of our perception of what the other person's reality is, because we really can't know.
Right.
Even though we might have ideas, I know that's always been an edge.
Mhm.